This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. What if comparing car insurance rates was as easy as putting on your favorite podcast? With Progressive, it is. Just visit the Progressive website to quote with all the coverages you want. You'll see Progressive's direct rate, then their tool will provide options from other companies so you can compare. All you need to do is choose the rate and coverage you like. Quote today at Progressive.com to join the over 28 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Welcome to Secrets of a Sugar Daddy. Here's your host, Marcus.
Welcome to another episode of Secrets of a Sugar Daddy, the number one sugar dating podcast in the world, where we pull back the curtains on the good and the bad and the shocking stories of sugar dating. You guys got me solo today. We're going to have a lot of fun with this. I have a letter that I'm going to read and a couple other things I want to discuss. And it is an absolutely beautiful, beautiful day here in Old Town Scottsdale. I just got a message from one of our fans, and she'd been to one of our parties, and she's like, hey, I'm in town. What are you guys doing? Let's get together. We love those. So if you guys are ever in the Scottsdale, Phoenix, Mesa, Tempe, wherever, Goodyear, Peoria, there's all kinds of cities around this metroplex. But if you're in Arizona, give us a holler, and maybe we were free and we can meet up for dinner or drinks or whatever it may be. We love to hang out with our fans and just enjoy meeting all of you. All right, so before I begin, of course, we want you to join our family, our Patreon, and that helps support the show, and we really appreciate it. It's all restructured now. We've got coaching and profile review tiers, and they start as low as $15 a month for the regular tier. Unlocks the entire site. You'll get to hear all the episodes of Extra Sugars before anybody else. Behind-the-scenes photos, video. We've got lots of fun things that we're posting lately. Community chat. There's so much that goes into it, and we really, really appreciate everybody that joins, and it goes to a very, very good cause. So that's at patreon.com/secrets of a sugar daddy podcast. All right. First thing we're going to do is tackle this letter. And I appreciate you guys sending in letters. We do read those, and a lot of them will make the air. So let's go over this one. All right, this is from a woman. Well, I screenshotted it and I left out her name. We'll call her Sugar Baby. Says, hello, Secrets of a Sugar Daddy team. I'm writing to share a story that reflects a more nuanced, long-term dynamic that can develop through seeking, one that doesn't fit neatly into traditional categories. I met a successful older man on Seeking 3 years ago. Over time, our connection evolved into something emotionally close, consistent, and deeply familiar, yet never formally defined. There has never been traditional allowance or explicit agreement, but he's been generous in meaningful ways: travel, shared experiences, time, and access. What complicates the dynamic is the level of trust and integration that's developed alongside the ambiguity. I've helped him out in practical ways over the years, and at one point, my mother even stayed at his home to watch his dog while he was away. Something that speaks to a degree of trust and personal overlap that goes beyond a casual arrangement. I've always been aware of other women in his life when they existed. At the moment, there are none. And there's never been deception on that front. Yet, despite the emotional intimacy, he remains reluctant to fully define or claim the relationship. Recently, he invited me on an upcoming trip and also invited my best friend. Well, that sounds like fun. I've actually done that before. She knows the full history between us, has spent time with us together, and often remarks on how deeply connected we appear, how we get lost in conversation, how naturally intimate we are, and how in love, quote unquote, we seem when we're together. Still, the dynamic remains intentionally ambiguous. I'm financially independent, professionally established, and not seeking rescue or security. Yet I found myself navigating the subtle power dynamics that come with generosity, emotional closeness, and undefined boundaries. At this point, the question isn't, is this sugar dating, but rather, why do some men allow emotional intimacy, trust, and integration into their lives while still resisting definition? And who does that ambiguity ultimately serve? I'd be happy to share more details anonymously if this feels aligned with the show. Warm regards. Oh, okay. So I actually kind of understand this situation. I want to sort of equate this to my relationship with Alejandra. I went through a 16-year marriage. I went through a couple of sugar baby relationships that one of them we were actually talking marriage, and then it ended, and I went through some pretty tough times emotionally with that one because I really let my heart go, and I got very invested in her life and in her family and in the idea of becoming a father to her children. And when that ended, it was a tough pill to swallow. Now, I talk many times how I became a better human for that, and I'm really thankful for the lessons that I learned there. But even Alejandra and I talk about that. Here we are coming up on 4 years. In the middle of 2026 will be 4 years that we've been dating, and we're still not exclusive. And we joke to each other that we're still getting to know each other. Yeah, I love her to death and she loves me to death, but it's been really tough taking that next step. Maybe it's because I fear what the marriage did to me, where I was very unhappy for 16 years, or what the other relationships did when they tore my heart out in the end. I don't know. Maybe he's got some reluctancy to move forward because of past trauma in his relationships. But it sounds like you guys have a really good thing. Like I said, something very, very close to what Alejandra and I experienced. So I would just keep moving forward. If you feel the need and the time is right to have a talk to him about what the future entails, maybe you can get down a little bit more to the heart of why he's afraid to commit any more than he has, even though it sounds like you two are actually work really well with each other. And then if he decides to start dating other women or maybe pull away, I can guarantee you he's going to start missing you. Maybe you're too available and he's starting to take you a little bit for granted. That's easy to fall into that trap. So I appreciate the letter, and I would love to explore this more. Maybe we'll reach out and get a little bit more information from you and get a little deeper into the subject. But that's just my initial surface diagnosis of the situation, and I kind of feel like I'm going through something similar, so it's quite interesting. All right. Now, since solo, I actually want to do something a little bit different, a little bit more light, a little fun. So we're going to talk about some things in a little different way, but let's just say sugar dating, it isn't hard. People are just bad at honesty, boundaries, and showing up on time. That's what makes it difficult. And we're going to talk about some of the things that kill arrangements pretty quickly, what nobody admits out loud about sugar dating, what actually works. So if this interests you, well, then let's go. Here are some sugar dating myths that I used to believe. And I think a lot of you are going to relate to this, and a lot of you are going to be surprised. Sugar dating myth number 1. If I'm generous, they'll be grateful. That's what I used to believe. Now, they are grateful in the beginning, But what happens is if there's not that chemistry there, or there's all kinds of other factors, you'll be surprised on how you think you're being generous and then they still are not grateful. And it's amazing to me. So if I find that attitude starting to creep into our arrangement, our relationship, I'm done. I will kick him to the curb. It's backfired on me. I've tried to let it go on longer than it should, but I don't anymore because I don't have the patience for that. So basically that's what I used to think. And I still believe that, you can be generous, but there's going to be, lots of ways that you can be generous that they will be grateful. And a lot of people think that being overly generous is going to fix bad chemistry. Let me tell you, people, nothing fixes bad chemistry. Our friend Jay, he locked on to an absolutely gorgeous 20-something-year-old, went on trips, gave her everything that she wanted, and she still had a bad attitude. And the chemistry wasn't there. He really liked her, and she's great eye candy, fun to hang around with and fun to be seen with. But it didn't matter how much money you're throwing at that person. It's just not going to fix the chemistry issue. If it's just not there, it's not there. I've turned down arrangements with gorgeous women, anybody that would love to match up in any of these swiping apps with some of these women. I turned them down just because I didn't feel the chemistry, and I'm just not going to throw money at bad chemistry, and you shouldn't either. Here's another myth that I used to believe. Hot people don't need structure. We all need structure, and we all need discipline. It doesn't matter how hot you are, quote unquote. You just can't get away with everything. I've had people who showed up late every single time that we went out, every single time. It got so bad that, let's say dinner plans were for 7 or 7:30, I would tell them 6:30, and they would still be late. We still wouldn't make our dinner plans on time. So you do need structure. I don't care what you got going on in your life. Structure matters. Here's another fun myth that I used to believe about sugar dating. If she likes me, she'll be flexible. Well, and we're not talking physically flexible. We're talking about flexible with her time and when she'll see you. We're all busy people, and there's people out there that absolutely need a heads up before a date, many days. They need their planners, right? So, it might be a Thursday night, 6 o'clock. You don't have a date that night. That person's probably not going to be a good candidate to try to get them to do something spontaneously. I love spontaneous people, but they're hard to find. And the reason is because I'm a big procrastinator, or I have lots of things going on too, and all of a sudden I find myself with some free time that I wasn't expecting. And it gets a little frustrating when I'm trying to reach out to people and they're not flexible. It's part of it. It's part of the dating thing. People have their own lives too. And women, here's a sugar dating myth that you probably used to believe that I can tell you it's not always true. And that's, if he's rich or wealthy, he'll lead the relationship. That is absolutely not true. I know Alejandra went out with somebody and she just felt like the date wasn't moving along, and she kind of thought in her head how it should move along. And so she had to take the lead. And I don't know if he didn't like that or what, but it was kind of one of those things where he said, hey, after a date a few days later, he messaged her and said, I don't think we're on the same page, but I really enjoyed meeting you, and ended the arrangement very quickly. But she said she had to lead because he just wasn't taking any action, or he wasn't, he wasn't dominant or anything. And, you don't have to be like ultra alpha male dominating, ordering her around. But women do expect men to take the lead on the dates. They expect you to plan them. They expect you to notify them in a timely manner of what it'll be. Pick out like the dinner reservations or the show reservations or the trip reservations or whatever you're going to do. They expect you to take the lead and do that. And then they just really want to come along and enjoy the night without thinking too much about it. So I've spent hours and hours planning fun dates for my sugar babies. As a matter of fact, when Madison and I broke up and she started dating other guys, she came back to me and said, "You need to write a book on how to date because these guys don't know what they're doing. They don't plan fun dates. It gets boring very quickly. They just don't put that much effort into it." So, common myth, if he's rich, he'll lead. Don't be surprised if you're with somebody who probably is pretty wealthy and then you're bored as fuck because he's not taking the initiative. You might have to take a little bit of initiative in that if you feel comfortable, or if you don't like it at all, it just may not work out.
You're listening to Secrets of a Sugar Daddy.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. What if comparing car insurance rates was as easy as putting on your favorite podcast? With Progressive, it is. Just visit the Progressive website to quote with all the coverages you want. You'll see Progressive's direct rate, then their tool will provide options from other companies so you can compare. All you need to do is choose the rate and coverage you like. Quote today at Progressive.com to join the over 28 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Now back to the show with your host, Marcus.
Let's talk about a first date breakdown, like kind of a play-by-play. First of all, you got to get them off the site most of the time. Some girls don't want to go off the site, and it's really funny because there's just things you can't talk about on Seeking or some of these sugar dating sites. I like to get them to my Google Voice number as quickly as possible, and then we can talk freely about arrangements, financial expectations, what part of town they live in, what their availability is, what some of their likes are. A FaceTime would be great also. It would have saved me so many hours of wasted dating time and money. It would have saved me a lot of money. I'm still a gambler at heart. Sometimes I just like rolling the dice and showing up to see what kind of chemistry that we have, because it's not always conveyed through FaceTime. Lily gave us a good example in one of her episodes where the FaceTime went well, but then in person, it was a whole different vibe. So FaceTime just kind of gives you a little bit of an idea. And if you can't do that, just at least chat on the phone. Now, chatting on the phone to somebody that you've never met before, it can be hard to really judge how the in-person date will go. I know Nikki on our last episode, she was supposed to meet a guy and he talked for I can't remember what she said, 20 or 30 minutes nonstop when they had their first call. And so she didn't go to meet him, but he may not have been that way in person. I don't know. He may have just been a little nervous. I'm just telling you, phone calls are okay, but they're not a true indicator of how the date's going to go. So I wouldn't base too much on that, but at least you can kind of hear their voice and get their vibe, kind of see if you're thinking you want to move forward. I've had people too that's had maybe their voice kind of reminded me of somebody else, or they had kind of a strange cadence to their voice or something. And then when I showed up, it just felt different in person. And I could put a voice with the face, and it didn't annoy me as much as it was annoying me maybe on the phone call. Next thing is, once you get them off the site and start talking to them, try to do some background if you can on that person. Now, I'm going to tell you a funny story that's getting kind of funnier, I guess. And I might have to change my number if it gets too bad, but I don't really care that much. There's some apps out there where you can get information about people, even if they're using a texting app, right? One of those apps is called Mr. Number, and I know a few of you people use that. And if you don't, they have a free service, so you can download the app. Punch in the number that has messaged you or that you're messaging with and see if there's any comments. Now, for those of you that know my Google Voice number, if you punch it in, you're going to see like comments. Somebody has it out for me, and they're basically putting notes on Mr. Number about me that are absolutely not true, but I don't even care. It's my Google Voice number. I can change it at any time. But one of them said like, oh, he's a loser, yuck, gross. And then it said cancels. Then like weeks later, somebody put cancels date at last minute, untrustworthy or something like that. I'm like, that I haven't canceled the date on anybody. The only date I've canceled in the last year we talked about, and that's been months ago, was on this girl. I actually showed up for the date and got spooked off because it was in a really bad part of town, and I think she was one of the homeless girls hanging out at the restaurant I was going to pick her up with. So I bailed. That's the only one I can think of. But that one, I mean, I wouldn't imagine she would be posting anything on Mr. Number about me. I think I have a good idea who it is. There's this one girl I met through Bumble, or I was through Hinge, or one of those swiping apps, right? And she gave me her real number after the date and then messaged me on the app saying, hey, I sent you my real number. And I just like, yeah, I got it. And I never messaged her back. We had talked for 3 hours and she just trauma dumped on me. And I was like, I can't deal with this. I don't care how hot you are. I'm just not going to deal with it. And I think she got pretty offended that here I am rejecting her. That's the only one I can think of because I've had nothing but positive experiences with everybody that I've met. I mean, it could be anybody. It could be a listener of the show. I don't know. Just fucking around with me. But it's pretty funny. So you can look people up on Mr. Number if you want and see if there's any information there. You can plug it into White Pages. That's the one I use. And White Pages is not 100%, but it will give you really good information a lot of the times. I just had somebody north of town she messaged me the other day. I punched it in, sure enough, and she had a very common name, something like Sally Smith, right? That wasn't her name, but it was really common like that, and it would be very hard to find. And sure enough, I punched it in. It had her first, middle, last name, her birthday, her address, her age, of course, with her birthday, had her emails, phone numbers, relatives, everything. And as I was chatting with her through my Google Voice, she started talking. I said, oh, where do you live? And then the place she said, I'm like, yep, it came right up, right in the app. Everything was perfect, exactly as the app was telling me. Other people I've looked up, and it had some information, and it had information. It had full names, addresses, relatives, birth dates, and it didn't even apply to them. So it may have been somebody that owned that number before they did or something. So it's not 100% accurate. I would say my success by punching in somebody's White Pages, somebody's number into White Pages is probably 40 to 50%. Yeah, I would say. But hey, that's a good start forward, and then you can kind of get to know somebody. Is this stalking? Is this creepy? No, this is smart dating, people. This is wise dating. Protect yourself. Be safe. I've had people tell me that it's creepy, but I'm telling you right now, I'm going to still do it, and I don't care what you say, and I advise you to do it too.
You're listening to Secrets of a Sugar Daddy.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. What if comparing car insurance rates was as easy as putting on your favorite podcast? With Progressive, it is. Just visit the Progressive website to quote with all the coverages you want. You'll see Progressive's direct rate, then their tool will provide options from other companies so you can compare. All you need to do is choose the rate and coverage you like. Quote today at Progressive.com to join the over 28 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Now back to the show with your host, Marcus.
Then you want to set the date, try to get them over drinks. Now, I try to refrain from doing dinners, and I talk about this all the time because nothing's worse than getting stuck with a date for an hour and a half to 2 hours you want to run away from. If you have drinks, you can get out of there. You can wrap it up pretty quickly, and sometimes the alcohol makes them a little prettier or a little more attractive, a little funnier. It can make you a little more attractive, a little funnier too. So I don't mind having drinks with somebody. I had this one date many years ago where I almost walked out of the restaurant when she was in the bathroom. She was so annoying, and I don't know. She had this wall, and she was just playing tough girl, right? And we were having drinks, and we had a lot of drinks. And then when she came out of the bathroom, she kind of started loosening up a little bit, and then she just randomly said, "Well, do you want to go back to my place? It was like 2 blocks from here." And I'm just like, "Sure, let's go back to your place," against my better judgment, where we ended up going back to her place. And oh my God, we had some of the wildest sex that I could ever imagine. I was not expecting that at all. I mean, we went over there, we started making out, we started having sex on our patio. Then we came in and it was in the kitchen. Then it was on the living room floor. Then it was on her couch. I mean, she was like a gymnast. And we were doing aerobics. So it ended up turning out to be a memorable night. Now, I tried to date her a little bit after that, but the more I did, the more I found out she was batshit crazy. Why do the batshit crazy ones have such good sex with? I don't know, but they do. And it didn't last, but that was one incident where I almost bailed, and I was glad I wasn't sitting there for a full dinner with her. So I wouldn't suggest that, but hey, you do you if you want. I've done sushi on first meet and greets. That's usually pretty quick and easy, and you can get in and out. I just wouldn't do a long fancy dinner. Do something light. If you are going to do lunch or dinner, do something light. You don't want to commit too much in the first meet and greet. Then, depending on how the vibe goes at the end of the night or end of the day, you can see if you want to progress it further, and hopefully you're able to talk about expectations going forward. Communication is huge in the sugar dating scene. You've got to make sure that you're both on the same page. A lot of people come away not knowing. They'll come away from the date going, I don't know if he likes me, or, I don't know if she likes me. I don't know if he's going to call me again. I don't know what I'm actually going to get financially from this. So hopefully you have really good communications. You can kind of talk about your expectations. Some conversations are just natural. They flow. You don't have to think about them. Others, you got to beat yourself up just to ask the next question because you're getting very short answers and they seem uninterested. Read the room, read the situation, decide if you want to go forward. When to talk money and how? That's the golden question, right? Because everybody's here for that reason. I say everybody. Most everybody is on this site for that reason. The financial aspect of it, the financial component of sugar dating. But how do you talk about it, and what do you say, and when do you talk about it? Some people bring it up in the very beginning. Some people bring it up over the first meet and greet. Some people bring it up after. Some people never bring it up, and they just kind of enjoy the dating for what it is. But you're going to have to find what you're comfortable with, and everybody is different. I hate to leave it so vague like that, but Alejandra likes to just give a range and say, well, obviously I'm here for a reason. And my range is usually, let's say 700 to 1,000 or whatever it may be. And, we can discuss it over a meeting. Maybe I don't expect any compensation for the first meeting or whatever, right? There's all kinds of ways to bring it up to make somebody feel comfortable. And, I've had people message me and go, well, my PPM's $1,000. And I've never met them. Maybe I'd really enjoy them, but it's just them throwing that number in my face from the very beginning is kind of a turnoff for me. Now, if it was a lower number, maybe I would, but that's kind of a big number on my end. But maybe if I met them and they really brought it and the chemistry was good and we wanted to go forward, maybe that might be my PPM. I don't know. It's just hard to tell. So there's some ways you can dance around it. You can talk about it at the first meet. I wouldn't bring it up initially. I would kind of get to know each other and decide if you want to move forward and then bring it up. You can talk about it after it's over as you guys communicate and try to set up a proper first date or something where intimacy is involved. Then you can discuss it either on the phone or through text. But the money thing is absolutely the most complicated thing and the one we get the most questions about, because people don't want to sell themselves short, but it's the old thing. Women want the most for their time and men want to pay the least. So on the most part, that's how it goes. The follow-up text, if you're interested in that person, follow up a text after the date. I went on a meet and greet the other day and I really wasn't interested in her. The date ended and I never heard from her. So I didn't think she was interested in me. And so I'm just going along. Like 2-3 weeks later, she gets a text that says, hey, I'd really love to see you again. Wait, what? I didn't even think you were interested. So if you are interested, it doesn't mean you're going to get a second date. But if you are interested, send something after the date, saying, at least thanking them for the date, showing that, and if you are interested, make it clear, hey, I'd love to see you again. My availability is pretty flexible, or I'm available on the weekends. Just let me know. And then you throw the ball into their court and then wait for them to hit it back. So again, there's somebody that I've been seeing and I messaged her. A day or two goes by, no return message. I messaged her once again. Now it's another day or two, still no reply. I mean, that's it. I've thrown the ball in their court and there's nothing else I can do at this point. Just wait for them to throw it back. Now, she kind of displays that pattern, so I'm not real worried about it. And if it never happens again, that's fine. But we had a lot of fun on our last date. And matter of fact, that was last week. I told you guys about it. It was her birthday. And I took her out for a nice dinner. And then we went back to my place, had a lot of fun, and left really happy with the night. It was very, very memorable. Yet I have gotten no response from her after that. And we've gone out a few times, so we will see. We'll see how that goes.
You're listening to Secrets of a Sugar Daddy.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. What if comparing car insurance rates was as easy as putting on your favorite podcast? With Progressive, it is. Just visit the Progressive website to quote with all the coverages you want. You'll see Progressive's direct rate, then their tool will provide options from other companies so you can compare. All you need to do is choose the rate and coverage you like. Quote today at Progressive.com to join the over 28 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Now back to the show with your host, Marcus.
Kind of brings to the next point, when to move on. If they're not communicating with you, move on. We're not exclusive. Don't be exclusive with somebody until you've established something consistent and then they've proven to be consistent with you. I don't just put all my eggs in one basket. And Alejandra the other day, she started seeing somebody new because another guy that she'd been seeing, it just fizzled out. And she really liked him too. And the first few dates were a lot of fun, and she saw a lot of potential in it. But then as she got to know him, it just wasn't working at all. And so she ended it, and she hadn't closed the door on meeting other people. So she still was meeting other people. Yeah, don't close that door until, you've been with somebody and they've and things have grown naturally, organically. And finally, let's talk about the cheat code nobody teaches. So the cheat codes for men is why certainty is more attractive than generosity, how to lead without controlling, why consistency beats grand gestures. Now, if somebody is very consistent with me and they show up on time, like I said, they text back promptly, and they've really put forth an effort to make our dates wonderful, then that's going to beat out a grand gesture of them anytime. I would much rather see consistency than once or twice where they go all out, but then the other times they're not consistent. That's no fun. And then the other one is how to lead without controlling. So you want to lead, but then if somebody wants to, let's say she wants to go to dinner and you were just thinking about a night in, just come over to my place. We'll grab some takeout, grab a bottle of wine, just chill at my place. And she says, no, but I really, really want to go out to this restaurant that I've been craving for a while. Then it's time to take her out to that restaurant, right? Yeah, you've told her what you wanted, but she definitely wants something a little bit different. So don't be controlling and force her. No, we're just going to come to my place, take out, chill. That's what we're going to do. That sets a bad mood. I don't think she's going to be very giving that night, very understanding. So there's all kinds of ways you can lead without controlling. I like to look up a couple of things to do for a Friday night. Maybe it's a comedy show. Maybe it's a concert. There might be some options in town. Maybe there are 2 or 3 options. And then I'll message her. I'll go, hey, out of these 3 or these 2, what would you like to do? Pick one. And they love that because now they have a choice without having to do all the work. You've done the work. Now they get to kind of choose what they think will be fun, and you guys can have a really great evening out. So there's all kinds of ways to lead without being controlling. Maybe some cheat codes for women. Why showing up right matters more than looks. I don't even think that needs much explanation right there. How to communicate needs without killing desire, right? So women, you have your needs and you have your wants. Don't just sit there and let the man be too controlling. You're important too. So communicate what your needs are, and you're going to be shocked on how willing the men are to try to appease those needs and fill those needs. Why emotional intelligence equals higher allowance long term. Yeah, nobody wants to have conversations that go nowhere. Now, I'm somewhat of a sapiosexual, meaning I am really turned on by an intelligent conversation. So if you can speak intelligently on something, it's going to bring a higher allowance in the long term. You're going to prove that you're more valuable than the regular person. Find a subject you like. You may not be versed in theater, but you may have a really extensive knowledge on astronomy or whatever it may be, or electrical engineering or whatever it may be, right? Maybe it's on beauty. Maybe you've studied beauty and you know how to apply makeup to where in ways that people don't really think of or they're not familiar with, that enhances the beauty of women. There's all kinds of subjects that you can be an expert on and become an expert on those, because your emotional intelligence will definitely outweigh anything else in the long term. All right. I think we're going to wrap it up there. I've got to run. I'm going to have to figure out next week's episode because we are headed to a wedding in Cancun. Dr. Charles, I just got everything finalized on my end, and we're really looking forward to that. So we will give updates on that, and there's lots of things going on. But like I said, if any of our sugar friends are in town, and this is the greatest time to be in Arizona, but any time of the year, hit me up. We love to go out and eat, do whatever. And then, of course, our Patreon. Don't forget that at patreon.com/Secrets of a Sugar Daddy podcast. All right. Thanks. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Thanks for joining us. If you'd like to connect or even be on the show, we'd love to hear from you at secretsofasugardaddy.com.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive. Most of you aren't just listening right now. You're driving, cleaning, and even exercising. But what if you could be saving money by switching to Progressive? Drivers who save by switching save nearly $750 on average. And auto customers qualify for an average of 7 discounts. Multitask right now. Quote today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $744 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2022 and May 2023. Potential savings will vary. Discounts not available in all states and situations.